explain something to everyone. And this is not to scare you or to really upset you, but I can tell you with all the assurance that I can share with you is that everything that's happening now, all the chaos that's taking place in this nation and around the world, is quite simple. We wanted this to happen. We didn't care, and we wanted this to happen. Now, no one suspected that two Americans would be shot dead by American troops in an American city on American soil. But here we are, 2026. This is really what it's all about. People would say things like, the chickens have come home to roost, or something like that, to illustrate that we have made mistakes. And our mistakes have wind up costing us our humanity, our sense of decency, and yes, the fact that American troops are killing American people on American soil. It's not strange. I mean, you're used to seeing other groups and other factions gun down people on American soil, right? But here we are. We're having to watch the horrors of two murders. And yes, they are murders. Let's stop spinning it for what it really is, murders by law enforcement. And I could say that it strangely correlates with when state or even local law enforcement would do the same to someone of a particular shade, but that's neither here or there, because as long as it was happening to people of this side of the aisle, we just turned a blind eye to it. We really didn't care, and we weren't all that concerned about how other people were being treated, how other people were being manhandled, abused, sodomized. We didn't care because it wasn't happening in our neighborhood, our small town, our community, our way of life. And increasingly, we are now beginning to see that it is affecting everyone's way of life. You may be in some cul-de-sac somewhere, shielded away from what's going on in Minnesota and in other places. And you may be secure in knowing that it's not happening where you are. Why need to turn the TV off? I don't need to see that. That's not where I live. But yes, it is part of where you live. It is really happening all around. And the minute you close your eyes and shut your ears and keep your mouth closed, it's going to continue until your cul-de-sac will be very affected by what is going on. We allowed this to happen because over a generation, we believed that trickle down was the answer, that going to war with other countries for some reason was the answer. And now we believe, really, the answer is more military, more police, more law enforcement, and less sense. There's not a plan to deal with it in a way that is non confrontational. But again, this is where we are right now. There are ways of dealing with this issue without the armed guards, just in fatigues, mask on, and all that. There's a way to solve this. And yes, I know the issue in which all of this violence evolves around has changed, metamorphosized. It did pass you alone. Like other promises, people were led to believe this was a problem that was south of a border. But this is an issue that was, or is now transformed into middle American cities who have nothing to do with what goes on in border states like this one in California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and the rest. We begin to see the prejudice, the out and out prejudice by some individuals in government play out. They want this to be a perfect country. They want this country to become great. Or let's just say, of a different shade. How do how is this everyone's fault? How is this all of our fault? We've listened to so many people, politicians who promised you a better day, and yet found that they're so anxious to take your money and give it to people who don't even care about you. The tech bros don't care anything about you. They they don't care. They don't want to care. They look at you as beneath you. You're struggling to make ends meet. You're going to the store, prices are high, you can't get the home that you wanted, you can't do for your family the way that you want, and yet you keep listening to these folks with the biggest microphones. You watch media that is now state controlled media, and they tell you everything is good, and guess what? Your life gets worse every single day. But you believe in the hocus pocus. You believe in the abracadabra, and guess what? Poof! You have to struggle for medical bills. You have to struggle to make that last month's payment. All of you watching this are good people. You live your life the way you want to live it. You work at the jobs that help with your lifestyle and your money and help maintain your families. You do what you can. But if someone comes along and says, guess what? You can have a better way of life by just giving your money and giving it to these rich folks. It doesn't work that way. You always have to listen to the policies rather than the rhetoric. If the policies work for you, vote for the policies. If they explain how we're going to do things, you go with that person or persons and say, oh yeah, yeah, they got, I get them. I know what they're saying. I understand. But if they turn the conversation to anything other than what you're experiencing, such as alternate lifestyles or people who don't belong, if they're banning books just because they're afraid of a woke ideology affecting your children, if they're not reading, if they're not studying, if they're not educated enough to understand, then yes, it is what it is. And the signs of this happened way back when. I always mention about a Nightline segment I watched a long time ago. Nightline used to be a news information show that was born of the Iran hostage crisis. It ran until 2005, I believe. It's a long time. But they had a segment back in the 80s in which they interviewed a young man about the Civil War. And said, "What about the Civil War? I wasn't there. I don't care about that." History. Just a complete denial of history because he wasn't there. I've encountered this with students around 2000 in a very, I would say, affluent area. I had a student who said almost the exact same thing, but this was about the third century dynasty in China. And he said, "Oh, why are we reading this? I wasn't there. I don't know what's going on. I don't care." Right? I'm paraphrasing his words here. But he, like the young men on Nightline, did not care about history, did not care about the past. That is why these folks who are now running this country could read a book, learn from a dictator, and start adopting their methods because we in this country don't read enough to see the reason why there was a world war to stop all that. Well, there's a reason why the atomic bomb was built. And now, from the time I was growing up, part of our daily lives. Most of you watching, let me ask you a question. Did you know there were atomic tests in the state of Nevada back in the 1950s and 60s? And you know why they had to stop? Well, no one saw it coming back then, but John Wayne, the great actor, was affected by the fact that he was filming on a site that had radiation, which gave him cancer, and he died from that. There's a lot that has been stripped from us. Parents who go to the parents who go to these school board meetings and decide to raise a fuss because they want to ban books because it interferes with their sensibilities, or rather, they don't want to hear different points of view, right? I'm in. I work as a teacher, and I begin to see different points of view, different stories, or different backgrounds, and see alterations, or really just different stories that were hidden for a long time about historical figures or historical events. It doesn't change my mind about what I learned back then. It helps add to it. And I think when it comes to education, we are afraid of, I mean, the people at the top who run things now, they're afraid of educating our children because they are afraid that they may be smarter. Meanwhile, when you look around the world, the rest of the world is smarter than we are. There are countries now that are producing better transportation, that are producing a better quality of life. Meanwhile, this country is still stuck on a model that worked back then, but isn't working now. And we have politicians who keep constantly telling us every 4 years that, hey, all we need to do is go back to this time. All we need to do is go back to this moment in the past without forgetting the past. That past is gone. The people who benefited from the past definitely have received all the great benefits that went along with it, but there's always need for some improvement. You can build better cities, you can build better transportation, you can build a better way of life, a better structure for everyone to live in, instead of relying on the old, antiquated things of the past. But I digress. I didn't know it was gonna spend time, but we listen to these voices and we believe in them. Why? Because we feel they have the answer. And yet, in 2026, we find very, very disheartening that they never did. One, they never wanted to provide those answers, and they didn't care. And now we're seeing foot soldiers in the streets on American soil because that's the way we wanted it. We thought it was about one subject, but it turned out to be something completely different. This is what we're seeing now. And yet, everyone still believes it's about right versus left. Everyone still believes it's blue versus red. Everyone believes it's this state against that state. Everyone believes that, right? Because for all this time, you want to believe that you're better because of your political affiliation. You want to believe that you're better because all I can do is just curse them out or cuss them out or talk about them or just say whatever and everything's all right because I'm better than they are. Even though you're operating from the same place that they are politically. I mean, you say we're all Americans, but then your party affiliation means that you're either better or worse than an American, right? You got to make a decision. You got to decide whether or not if you want this or not for the rest of your life. Because let me tell you, time is growing short for all of us. And the moment that you decide, guess what? I'm going to stop listening to what they say and reacting to what they do. Because if they don't do anything, then I still have the power, not them, to do something about it. No matter how many times they're saying foot soldiers out in the streets to kill you. But it's your choice, you know? It's your decision. And all I can tell you is that if you really want to change things, if you really want to fundamentally change things, don't sit on the past or don't sit on any ideas that things will change because whatever. Things will not change. Power does not concede without a demand. I believe Frederick Douglass once said that. The Republican Frederick Douglass said that. The old Republican Frederick Douglass said that. Power does not concede anything without a demand. And therefore, 2026, the American people, truly the American people, are going to have to decide if we demand a better way of life without the violence, without the killing, without these crazy things happening in the streets, in our homes, and whatever, or are we just going to passively let everything happen? More people being killed, more state controlled media growing to where the word freedom is just a word with no meaning. You thought you were free, but people made sure of that. So, I'll leave this up to you. And only you. Because only you can make that decision. The rest of us, just keep trying. Thank you so much for your time watching this. If you watched all the way through, congratulations. Hope you got something out of it that will help you. If you like, please don't forget to like this video or subscribe to this channel. And I'll keep it short and sweet because I'm over time. Have a good day, a good evening, a great week. And always in closing, take care.